Okay, so this is day 4 of rehearsal, to which I was not called to, but I ended up showing up, albeit a bit late. Anyways, I got out of school at 12:30 and showed up around 1:30, and it started at like 1:15. So I got to join Circle, which we have a players circle, which Andrea brought to Whitmer. A couple other theaters do it. She brought it from her school, and it's where all the actors and crew and everybody who's involved sit in a circle and we discuss business, and it's where we all kind of just meet up and get ready to work before we actually do a scene. And today's first day stuff got blocked. We blocked Food Glorious Food, which I'm not in as Nancy. I don't participate much in the very beginning, but I become really important later, I guess. And I talked to Andrea today afterwards about what I can. Oh, that's Corinne. I think you might have seen her leg or something just now. If not, well, Corinne's here too. So I'm kind of gonna have probably like another 10-minute video, and it'll be really weird and no one will watch. But it's Corinne's birthday, so. Anyways, I talked to Andrea about what I could kind of start researching on Nancy so I can get started, because I don't have rehearsal until Thursday and it's just a music day. And like all of my days this month are music and dance days. I don't do much actual acting. I won't do that until the end of January, beginning of February, and then February I'm called every day to work on a lot of my scenes. Because when Nancy shows up, she's kind of pretty relevant until the end, but beforehand she's not really involved, especially in Act 1. So since we've just started blocking Act 1, I'm just going to be getting started later than most people. So I wanted to have some kind of background to work on, so I'm not just waiting until I read and then figuring out what I have to do. So Andrea said obviously to work on me accent a bit, and that'll be all right and good and stuff. I'll probably try and talk to some of my English followers a bit more and study the dialect a bit so I can get a better hang of that, because for me it's hard, because I feel when I am doing it that I'm not, because I'm used to doing a more intense accent like Irish, and so English is kind of the foundation of that, and so going back so far from something is really difficult because I feel like I should be doing more, and then I mess up really simple things that most people know, so it's really, I don't know what my hands are even doing, let alone what I'm saying, but it's just a little bit harder for me. So I have to study that, and she wants me to study petty crime. She said to look up women who are convicted of petty crimes, and psychology of criminals, petty criminals, like thieving, and why people steal besides just necessity. Especially I'm looking at because Nancy doesn't really need to steal to live, but she does, so I want to figure out why criminals do what they do besides just it being a time of need, and see what I can develop from that. Obviously, Bill and Fagin are huge influences on her, but I want to know why they are. So I have to look up that a bit, and I can introduce that to other members in the circle, Fagin's gang, and everybody, and that'll be good and stuff, so I can keep Andrea updated on stuff I find out about that, because I want to get started. And she brought Mariah over. Mariah has been in a few shows previously. I've worked with her before, and she is being in the ensemble for this role, for this show, but she's going to be the soloist for the Ripe Strawberries Ripe part in Who Will Buy. And she was Little Red Riding Hood in Into the Woods. And Andrea basically, well, she did say that Nancy needs to learn how to not give a shit. Well, I need to be Nancy. And that looking at Mariah and how she managed to do that, because Mariah is a really sweet, nice person. Well, I mean, she's Mariah. She's not like some sweet little girl, but she kind of was until Into the Woods, where she kind of came into her own and she developed Little Red Riding Hood. And Nancy is kind of similar to that, because Nancy goes against the rules. She's a bit rebellious, but she has like a code, which Mariah brought up a really good point. She said Nancy lives by the book, but it's her book, not your book. And then Andrea chimed in that it was Bill's book, not the law. So that was something I really am going to look at, why Nancy follows Bill's book, why she agrees with some things and not with others, why she thinks it's okay to be a criminal but not to kidnap Oliver. So I've got a lot of intense psychology work for why Nancy makes her decisions set out for me. Andrea said one of the things I need to do is, when it comes to acting, I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm usually not a perfectionist in anything, but especially when it comes to my characters, I'm like really, 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 intense with it, and I have to, like, I don't ever stop working until it's perfect, which obviously it's never perfect. And Andrea said that one way to separate myself from Nancy is that Nancy isn't a perfectionist. She isn't trying to please people. The only person she really cares about is Bill, because she has this abused woman complex. And I brought up the fact that I think Bill is an addiction for her from what I've read, and Andrea kind of agreed with that because Bill is a really bad guy. He is like the epitome of a villain. He is the villain of the show, and he is really bad for Nancy, but she loves him anyways. And I have to look at why she loves him, but I'll have to talk with Nolan to see how he's playing Bill so I can figure that out, really. But Andrea and I were talking a little bit about it, and her song "As Long as He Needs Me," we might be going. She says that Bill needs her, but we think that Nancy needs to feel needed, which is why she's singing the song, because she doesn't say that she needs Bill ever, but she says that she's loyal to him and she loves him, and she won't give Bill up. She like can't quit him, so he's a really bad addiction for her. It's like cigarettes except worse. 'Cause cigarettes don't beat you. Andrea also said not to go the streetwalker route because Mariah brought up the fact that she didn't know if Nancy was a prostitute, and Andrea does not want me to, obviously, like, really look into prostitution. She doesn't think Nancy really is, well, I mean, in Oliver Twist, I think Nancy actually is a prostitute, but we're not really playing up that side of Nancy. She's very loyal to Bill, and we're not going to have her go around interested in other guys because she's definitely loyal to Bill. And in Papa, she sings about pretty little Sally and who is a whore. And Andrea said she thinks that she's retelling the lives she's seen when she's singing Papa. So I just want to mention that really briefly because it's not. I mean, I'll look into it for character development, but that's something that was mentioned today. I'm trying to decipher all these notes I wrote over this piece of paper. Mariah brought up another really good point to not blend in. In almost every production of Oliver, Nancy has a red dress. I might not have a red dress. Andrea was looking at different colors possibly, but I still could, and regardless, she said that everyone's going to be dressed kind of plainly, but Nancy definitely will not. Nancy's going to be very vibrant because she doesn't stand in a crowd. The crowd stands around her. It's hard because she's abused, but she has a higher status than everybody, probably except Bill. Andrea said she even has a higher status than Fagin. It's just Fagin has more power, and he has an easier time with the kids, because it's like the kids are loyal to him, but Nancy is the first lady of the gang, so they also, like, listen to her, but Fagin has all the power in that situation. Nancy just has a higher status, and I'll talk even more about status later, but this video is already getting really long. It's 8.5 minutes. But these are really just for me to look back on so I can decipher all of this and not just what's written on this paper, because I have, like, petty crime, women convicted, psych of criminals written down, and I need to express that while I remember what I was talking about before I'm just like, what am I supposed to do with this? Something Andrea also said to look at was Florence and the Machine, because Andrea personally can't decide if she could sing or if she's really pretty, but she's really interesting. And it's not that she isn't, but she isn't sure if she is, so, like, she keeps, like, she's really popular. Florence and the Machine is really popular, and she keeps you, thinking and whatnot, and so she said to kind of look at that for Nancy a little bit, but it kind of goes along with the don't blend in thing that Mariah said, is that the only time Nancy is beneath anybody is when she's in a situation with Bill. And so she definitely won't blend in with the crowd. I mean, when Act 2 starts, Papa starts right away, and they're like, oh, Nancy, sing for us. And they call her the goddess of the virtues, and then she says, alright, I will, so she starts singing Papa. Like, instantly. Her only lines in Act 2 before she sings are, alright, alright. And she starts going into it. So, I just have to work on not looking at people when I talk to them, so that'll be something to keep in mind when I actually start doing scene stuff, and to not really blend in. Mariah suggested think peacock very big and out there, but I don't want to go Carmen with it, where she thinks that she's above everybody. It's just that she is kind of above everybody. But I don't know if Nancy's really full of herself, especially because she has an abused complex. So I'll get into that with Andrea. Andrea said she's really excited to work with Nolan and I, and she can't wait to block some of those scenes. So